Howdy and welcome back to Wellywood Wargaming. Last night I was fast asleep, snoring on the couch when I should have been in bed, and I woke up to get ready for bed and I had a bunch of notifications on my phone about a new Warhammer community article. A bunch of friends had sent me this, and yeah, of course, with my sleepy eyes and dreary mind, I opened the article, and what do I see? A bunch of new squat stuff for Necromunda. Now, I did not expect this. This is completely a bolt out of the blue. Honestly, I don't think any of us were expecting this, were we? You know, when Hive Secundus launched, we got the, the Van Saar side of things. I think everybody, really, including myself, was probably expecting all the house gangs to get something first. However, they've completely flipped it here. So hats off to Games Workshop for surprising us with this big U-turn. And it seems we have, the first installment of a squat sort of upgrade kit, which looks like a plastic upgrade kit, by the way, as well. Before we get into the looks of the models and what they are and stuff, I'm actually just going to read through the article with you, see if there's any tidbits of information that I can also expand upon here as well. The title of the article, if you go to the Warhammer community, is "The Impervious Exo-Kyn Roll Out to Face the Greatest Dangers on Necromunda." Necromunda is an extremely dangerous place. Not a moment goes by in Hive Primus without deadly gunfights breaking out between gangs somewhere. The Ash Wastes are crammed with roving nomads, hungry fauna and lethal weather conditions, and the underhells of Hive Secundus are teeming with malformed gene stealers. What's a humble squat prospector to do in such a big, bad world? Don a mighty exosuit to start kicking ass and taking names. That's what. The stalwart miners, warriors and merchants known as the Ironhead Squat Prospectors are rolling out the big guns. They are staking the largest claim of all. Inheritance of the wastelands and their indomitable Exo-Kyn are the latest to leave the halls of their ancestors. We've then got an absolutely beautiful picture of Ash Wastes nomads against these new Exo-Kyn here. What does surprise me quickly before I go into the rest of the article is this sort of emphasis on the Ash Wastes here. I think this is really nice because I think, with Underhells and Hive Secundus being the new setting of the game, they're obviously still including stuff and lore and doodads on the Ash Wastes as well. They haven't just forgotten about it and moved on, which I think is really good. Ash Waste nomads getting a little bit of love here too. It'll be nice to see if Ash Waste nomads actually get something as well, because they certainly need it, as did the squats. Exosuits are based upon the ancient void suits used by the ancestors, providing unparalleled protection against environmental hazards, profoundly inclement weather, and deadly beasts out in the wastes. These high-tech suits, intended for deep core mining activities, are also perfectly suited for prospecting the abyssal depths of the sump seas for forgotten treasures. When the Ironhead Squat Prospectors need to enforce control over one of the many claims, the Exo-Kyn simply turn their excavator hammers, rock saws, hydraulic drills, and storm welders onto softer targets, with messy results, as we can well imagine there. Accompanying the Exo-Kyn are hardy automata encased in the same Ferromite armor. The Techmite Excavator 078B is more resilient than the standard Techmite Autoveyor, and this robust platform can be equipped with 2 mining tools to use as weapons. We'll leave you with the sound of motors revving past the horizon and the promise of more reveals for the Ironhead Squat Prospectors in the very near future. Let's have a look at the models then, shall we? So these guys effectively are tiny little baby versions of the Vitagen Exo Driller, which is the squat-specific brute that you can get from Forge World. If we take a look at that Exo Driller quickly, it came out obviously a while ago now, but you can see the armor is basically exactly the same. It's just scaled down for these new Exo-Kyn. I've seen the community fairly divided on what they think about these guys. I mean, there are lots of excitement and clamour and fireworks of chit-chat around this, and a few people are saying that these are somewhat derpy. When I see these, all I think of, and I can't get it out of my head now, and I'm sure that this is going to get into your head and ruin it for you too, is the character TikTok, not to be confused with the social media platform, from Return to Oz. If any of you have ever seen the film Return to Oz with the Wheelers and stuff, there's a character called TikTok in it who's like a little brass, wind-up soldier. These are the same sort of proportions, dumpy little guys. I could see them painted up in brass. That'd be hilarious. And it doesn't mean I don't like them. I think that's kind of endearing that they look a bit like TikTok from Return to Oz. But they do to me anyway. But yeah, they've got all the gubbins and all the sort of similar sort of silhouette to the actual Vitagen Exo Driller, just scaled down. So these are squat prospectors in big armored suits. So even bigger and more chunky than they actually are in their box. Now, I reckon this is going to be a plastic double sprue box set, just like the sort of Spyro one, to be honest. I reckon you're going to get 2 identical plastic sprues with 2 of the Exo-Kyn and 1 of the pets on each. Let's just talk about the weapons and stuff first, though. We've got these little, lights on top of the shoulder and sort of what look like sort of steam engines and stuff on the back of these guys. I don't know what you call those, but they're pretty cool. They are pretty cool. They are a little bit derpy and a little bit static and a bit monopose. You know, the legs look very blocky, and I got to say, there doesn't look like there's any movement in these guys as well, which is, you know, and I guess that's the same with the Prospectors themselves as well. But in the waist area, it doesn't look like these guys can actually turn at all. It looks like they're kind of fixed in place, and the arms don't have a huge amount of movement in them either. But again, it's science fiction. It can be as ridiculous as you like it, and these certainly are some of the most ridiculous Necromunda models so far. The weapons on each arm look like they're interchangeable, and they look like they can go on either arm as well. We've got power fists for both arms, which is pretty cool, meaning you can go double power fist if you like. That's awesome. You can also go double rock saw if you like, which would be even more awesome. There's a giant toffee hammer with a weird end on it, and then we've got the sort of little grabby claws and mining lasers and things like that as well. But it looks like, I mean, obviously judging from the article there as well, we've got a storm welder in there, which I think is the only ranged weapon I can see here. Doesn't look like we've got other ranged weapons. So these guys very much are, you know, the emphasis on these guys is close combat by the looks of things, but I imagine they're going to have heavy carapace armor at the very least, perhaps even undersuits or something, maybe even a field armor save. And in terms of the weapons, it looks like they're all going to pack an absolute meaty punch in close combat. We know that rock saws are very good, and heavy rock drills and heavy rock cutters, things like that. But they're, you know, very expensive and hard to fit into ordinary gangs often. I do have a Gene Stealer champion with a heavy rock cutter, like a giant pair of scissors, which I think is really cool. High amount of damage output, but incredibly high price. So I suppose it's worth thinking about, are these guys going to be in any way cost effective to get those types of weapons on them in the game? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. We have no rules in the article for these guys at all. So we're just speculating at this point, but I reckon they'll have a similar sort of armor save to the Vartigen Exo Driller, which I think is what, like a 3-up armor save or something like that. I reckon it'll be the same for these guys. And yeah, in terms of the equipment stuff, are these guys going to be a specialist ganger, or are they going to be maybe champions? I'm not really sure on this one either. They could be almost like a specialist champion, like you have your arms masters and whatnot for the house gangs. But again, it's all speculation at this point. Let's have a look at the little guys though, because they're pretty cool. We've seen a couple of these guys in Forge World Dramatis Personae characters as well. There are a couple out already, and these are really cool. They've got little dirt bike sort of wheels on them and sort of mandibles and stuff. They're quite cute. They remind me sort of like WALL-E sort of vibes going on there with these things. They do look a little bit Disney Pixar for me, which isn't necessarily a problem, but I tend to move away from cute things in Necromunda just because I'm a traditional grim dark bastard. So it is what it is. I think I can see, by the way, just going back to what I was saying about ranged weapons on these guys. The one with the hammer does actually have what looks like some sort of ranged weapon on the shoulder pack there, so that's cool. So we do have a ranged weapon option, but that's the only one I can see on the actual bodies. The little guys, though, they do look like they have some sort of compact auto pistol, which is pretty cool on the first one there. And the second one's got like drills and another sort of compact weapon there as well, perhaps a compact sort of stub pistol or something. Either way, I'm pretty sure they're going to be short range. I do absolutely love the idea of dual power fists. If it can be done, then we've got to do it. Or even the dual rock saws there as well. So I'll definitely, when I get my hands on these guys, I'll be building them so. Again, though, going back to the sort of aesthetic of these guys, I think if I had them in the flesh and I was actually painting them, I can think of a few ideas. I do like the fact that the armor is nice and big and flat and bold. So there's lots that you could do in terms of patina and rust and sort of battle damage and stuff on these guys to make them look really, really cool. So I think the paint schemes really are going to be where these guys shine. But the actual sculpts and stuff, I'm not a massive fan just because of how static they look. All 4 of the legs poses of the legs and bodies look exactly the same, which is a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. Anyway, that's all I'm really going to talk about here today is these new impervious Exo-Kyn. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm really torn on, you know, how I feel about these guys. I think it's quite exciting though that we do have some squat stuff. I think it's been a long time coming, getting new squat stuff. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we get a little bit more for the Ash Waste Nomads at some point, because I feel like they really, really do need it. I'm in the middle of playing, or at the beginning, should I say, of playing the Underhells campaign with 8 other people, and it is fantastic. And as you know, if you haven't played the Underhells campaign, there are certain different phases to it, and the first phase does involve sort of Ash Waste setting and vehicles and whatnot too, as well as some of the second phase as well. So it's nice that they're keeping Ash Waste's emphasis in there, be it squats or nomads or whatever. So hopefully we get some new vehicles at some point. Hopefully we get a Delac vehicle at some point. It's worth throwing that in there. But, you know, yeah, we live in hope. Anyway, that's it from me, and I'll be back with another video real soon. Peace out.